y'all, welcome back to the 4S blanket crochet along. It's a year-long crochet along and it is March already. So we are here to add in March's square to our blanket, and here it is. It is the rib stitch. First, I just want to say, if you're just finding us here, don't sweat it. You can, and you want to join in, you can still catch up. There's still plenty of time. You have just 2 other squares to do first, and the playlist for those squares will be linked in the description box below. If another thing I wanted to mention also is we are joining these squares as we go. However, if you choose to do it differently, if you don't like to join as you go, then by all means you can join these squares however you like. Also wanted to remind everybody about sharing the pictures of your progress and things like that. You can email me pictures, you can send them to me on Instagram, you can even post it on Instagram and use the hashtag 4S blanket cow. And I will I'll put that below as well, or put it on the screen here or something. So yeah, and you can also post in the Facebook group as well if you don't have Instagram or anything like that. So here is another example of this month's square, done in some variegated. So yeah, so let's get started. Okay, so this month we're going to be doing the rib stitch, and we're still using a 6.0 millimeter crochet hook, and I am using just some Red Heart Super Saver green yarn. I think it's called Patty Green. Just because March is known for St. Patrick's Day, so I thought this would look good for March. We're gonna start out by doing a chain of 44. So chain your chain of 44. You can pause this video to chain it, or and catch up. I've already chained my 44. So once you chain the 44 chains, we're just gonna put a double crochet into the 4th chain from the hook. So we're not counting this one on our hook. We're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4. And put a double crochet in that 4th chain. And our chain 3 right here at the beginning is going to count as a double crochet. So now we're just going to put a double crochet in each chain all the way across this row. So just 1 double crochet in each chain. And y'all, I'm going to go ahead and say ahead of time, if y'all hear me sniffling during this video, I'm sorry. My allergies are acting up. The pollen is really bad, and it has got my allergies in a mess. So please try to overlook that. But go ahead and put your double crochet in each chain across this row, and I'll meet you at the end. Okay, so once you have put your double crochet in every single chain across, when you get to the end of the row, we're going to chain 2 and turn the work. Now this chain 2 is not really going to count as a stitch. To do this rib stitch, we're going to be doing front post double crochets and back post double crochets. So to start this, we're going to skip this first stitch right here, and we're going to start into this. We're going to do the second one. Now for a front post, instead of going into the top of the stitch like you normally would, we're going to be working around the body of the stitch. So we're going to put our hook in like that and yarn over, pull up that loop, and then yarn over and finish the double crochet. So then it kind of makes it poke out like that. Now that's the front post. Now to do the back post, we're going to do similar to the front post. We're going to go in from the back and go around the front of the body. So it's going to look like that. It's going to be kind of like in the back of your work. And then you're going to yarn over and pull up that loop and yarn over and finish your double crochet. So then it sits to the back of your work. Where the front post sits up to the front of your work, the back post sits to the back of your work. Let's do it again. So the next one's going to be a front post, so we're going to go around to where we're making it sit up front and work that double crochet. And then on that next stitch, we're going to go in from the back, around, pull up that loop, finish that double crochet, and make it sit in the back. So that's what it will look like. We'll do it one more time. Around the post to make it sit up front, finish the double crochet, in from the back, and just like that. So that's what you're going to do for the rest of this row. You're just going to alternate doing the front post double crochet and a back post double crochet all the way across this row. And once you get to the end, I will meet you there. Okay, so once you get to the end of the row, you're going to have your last stitch right here should be a back post double crochet. And then you're going to have this chain right here. Okay, and with this chain right here, we're not going to like work in through the chain like we normally would here. What we're going to do is in this space right here, we're going to actually just use that space and do a half double crochet right here, like that. Then we're going to chain 2 and turn the work. Now this is the repeat for the entire square. And all you do is when you see a front post double crochet, you do a front post double crochet. Where you have a back post double crochet, you do a back post double crochet. So, and you're always skipping that first stitch. So we're gonna front post around that front post, and back post around that back post. front post, around the front post, back post, around the back post. Just like that. So go ahead and continue on with this row and I'll meet you at the end. Okay, so at the end of this row, you'll end with a back post double crochet, and then you'll have this chain space here at the end, just like on the last row. And again, we're just gonna go into that space and work a half double crochet. So every row is ended with a half double crochet. And then you'll just chain 2 and turn and start it again. Now, you're just going to keep repeating this row 2 all the way until you have a total of 23 rows. Now, I'm going to tell you an easy way that I use to count my rows for this ribbon. Instead of using a row counter or anything like that, you can use a row counter if you'd prefer. That's fine. But what I do is, let me see if I can get it where y'all can really see. So every time you have a back post, you have this like little lip here. Okay, so we know that our first row here was a double crochet row, and that is the lip from our first double crochet. So that's row 1. Then we have 2, 3, and 4. And you're just going to keep going until you have 23 rows. Once you have 23 rows, I will meet you back here to do the first row of the border, the single crochet border. Okay, so once you have completed your 23 rows, we're going to put the single crochet border around here. So we're going to chain 1 and flip the work. And then across this top edge here, we're going to put 1 single crochet into the top of every single stitch, including that half double crochet there. So we're going to start with a single crochet there, and then just in the top of every single stitch across, we're going to put a single crochet, just like that. We're not going around the stitches anymore, we're just going into the top of them now. So go ahead and do that across the top of this row, and I'll meet you at the end. Okay, once you get down here to this end of this row, I want you to make sure that you don't miss that last back post double crochet that was there, because you need to double crochet into that. And then we're also, I meant single crochet. And then we're also gonna, just like we were doing on the rows, we're just gonna go into that space there to put the last single crochet of this row. So at the end of this row, you should have 42 single crochets across the top of your row here. Then you're just gonna chain 2, turn your work to this side right here, just rotate it. And then we're going to go back into that same space there and put another single crochet. And that's going to be the first single crochet of this side, this raw edge here. Now, down this raw edge here, you're just going to be placing single crochets evenly down this side. And I do it, I'll put 2 in some places, and then I'll put 1 in some places. But I just go around the whole stitch. I'm not doing anything fancy going through the stitches or anything like that. But you just gotta kind of eyeball it and evenly place these throughout the row or throughout this side, and make sure that you have, when you get down here to this corner edge down here, make sure that your last stitch is number 42. So go ahead and I'll meet you down here. Okay, so once you have reached this corner edge and you have your 42 stitches across here, you're gonna chain 2 and rotate your work. Now we're gonna be going across this bottom edge down here. So once again, your first stitch is going to be in that same place right there as your other stitch was. And then this should be fairly easy. You're just going to be putting a single crochet in the bottom of that chain, that foundation chain. So just all the way across in the remainder of what is left from that foundation chain. All the way across. And I'll see you at the other end. Okay, so your last stitch should have ended right here in that starting chain from your foundation chain. Now I'm going to be just crocheting over my short tail from that beginning chain. You're welcome to weave it in if you don't want to crochet over it, but you're going to chain 2 and rotate your work. And now we're going to be doing the same thing along this edge that we did down the other. We're going to go back into that same stitch to do our first single crochet of this row. And then we're just going to place single crochets all along this raw edge, evenly spacing them apart until we have 42 total. And I will see you at the other end to show you the join. So once you have your 42 stitches along this raw edge, you're going to chain 2 and then join to that first single crochet that we made with a slip stitch. And then we can cut the yarn and tie it off. So let me zoom out a little here so you can see what we're looking at. So you've probably noticed that this square is a lot smaller than our other squares, and that's because of this stitch. It really shrinks up when you do it. So I highly recommend you blocking this square out before we do the join as you go. I will put in a little clip here of my blocking technique that I use to block out this square so that you can see what I do. I wet block mine, so what I will do is actually completely wet this and then pin it to my blocking mat. And I'm going to show y'all a little clip of what that looks like, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so this is my square on my blocking mats, and the way that I do mine is I count each of these little squares as one, and I do 12 across here and 12 across the sides, so it's like a 12 by 12. And once it completely dries, and it is freshly wet right now, but once it completely dries and you take all of these little blockers out, it'll shrink back just a little bit, not a lot, but you know, like a centimeter or something, maybe enough for you to do your join as you go round. Okay, now that my square is all blocked and dry, as you can see, it looks a lot better. And it's the same size as my other blocks now. So it's time to add the border and attach it to our other square. Now I'm going to use this spring green for my border on this square. So I'm going to attach me a slip knot on my hook, and I'm going to join in my bottom left hand corner down here in the chain 2 space right there. Let me zoom in so you can see what I'm doing here. So I'm going in that chain 2 space right there. I'm going to join my yarn in with a slip knot. And I'm going to be crocheting over my tails as I go. Now I'm going to chain 3. And that's going to count as the first double crochet of that row. Now just put 1 double crochet into each single crochet along this row. And at the end, when you get to the other corner, you'll have 44 double crochets. So I'll meet you at the next corner. Okay, so when you get down here to your next chain 2 corner, you're going to put the last double crochet of this row in that chain 2 corner, and that's your 44th double crochet. And now to turn this corner, we're going to chain 2. Rotate the work a little bit, put another double crochet back into that chain 2 corner, and then again just double crochet in each of the single crochets across. And you're going to do this same thing here all along this side, double crocheting in the single crochets. Same thing at the chain 2 corner that we just did. And then along the top row here, you're gonna double crochet in the top row. But when you get to this corner, we're gonna start joining our other square. So go ahead and finish these other 2 sides here, and I'll meet you at this corner when we are ready to join to our other square. All right, so when you get to this corner, we're gonna put our last double crochet in that chain 2 space for the corner. And instead of chaining 2 and going on around like we normally would, we're going to chain 1 and we're going to connect to, so here's where we connected this one to this one last time. So on the opposite side of it, we're going to connect down into it. Let me get a little closer. Okay. So we chained 1. Now we're going to find our chain 2 space there. We're going to go down in there, pull that yarn up, and slip stitch to join to that square. Okay. Now we're going to put our next double crochet in that chain 2 space of this square. And then we're going to, this is the first double crochet, we're going to join to it with a slip stitch. Then we're going to put a double crochet in that next stitch on this square, which is actually the first single crochet of this row. Then join to the next double crochet of this row, or this square, should I say. Then double crochet in the next single crochet of this square. Then join to this square, slip stitch into that double crochet, double crochet in the next stitch on this square. And that's all you're going to do all the way down. And I will meet you at the end when we reach the last chain 2 corner down here. Okay, here I am. I have this stitch here and then my chain 2 space left. So I'm going to double crochet into that stitch there, slip stitch into that next stitch up there to join, and then I'm going to double crochet into that chain 2 space there, and then join to that last stitch. But here's where I'm going to do a little something different. I'm going to put a slip stitch in that chain 2 space right there also. And that's going to count like a chain, because then we're going to do a chain 1 here, and then come over and slip stitch into the top of this first chain 3 that we did to close it off. And then our corners are joined just like at the other end. And you can, there you go. So yeah, our square is all joined up now. So now we can cut our yarn. Tie that off. Weave in that end. So there is your March square all connected and finished. All right, see you next month for next month's square. Bye.